Good morning, students. I, Om Mohan Saxena, I'm going to take chapter 1, Physics, class 12, that is part 2. In the last chapter, we have discussed up to the Coulomb's law. Now, today we'll start from the Coulomb's law in vector form. So, this is the Coulomb law in vector form. So, here you can see that R1 and R2 there are two charges placed at A and B, that is Q1 and Q2, and the position vector of these two charges are R1 and R2. So the distance between the charges is given as AB is equal to R2 minus R1, that is R21. It is represented like that. Now here we take the condition that both the charges are of same nature, means the product of Q1 Q2 is positive. So AB will be represented as R21 and BA is represented as R12 vector. So the distance AB, this is the magnitude, that is a mod of R2 minus R1, that is taken as mod of R2 minus R1 taken as R. So the force acting on Q1 due to charge Q2, that will be given by F12, and that is 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q2 upon R square. So this is the magnitude. When we convert it into the vector, we multiply it by the unit vector R12. So this is the vector form. Now in the place of R12, we can place the vector R12 upon magnitude of the vector R12. Since the magnitude of the vector R12 is R, so it can be written as vector R12 upon R. So the final equation will be F12, that is a force on charge Q1 due to charge Q2, is equal to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q2 upon R cube R12. So similarly, force on Q2 due to Q1, that will be given by 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q2 upon R cube, and that is R21. So this is the vector form. Now after that we will discuss about the continuous distribution of charge. Now in this there are three kinds of distribution. First we will take the linear distribution, then the surface, and then the volume distribution. So first of all, linear distribution of charge, it is represented by lambda, and it is given as charge per unit length, and its SI unit is Coulomb per meter. And the next one is surface charge density, that is charge per unit area. It is represented by sigma, that is Q upon A, and the unit is Coulomb per meter square. Now the next one is the volume charge density. It is represented by rho, and that is charge per unit volume, and its unit is Coulomb per meter cube. So these are the charge densities. Now after that, whenever we require the net force on a particular point, suppose there are certain number of charges Q1, Q2, Q3, and we have to find out our net force on a particular charge. So in that case, we will calculate the vector or the algebraic sum of all the forces acting on that. Now here the vector notations are not there, but these are the vector quantities. So see here how to calculate that. Now suppose there are certain things. If there are two forces acting at a point and these two are in the same direction, then the net force will be equal to this is the magnitude of the force, will be equal to the magnitude of the two forces, because both are acting in the same direction, and the direction or resultant will be in the same direction. Similarly, if the two forces are acting opposite to each other, then in that case the net force will be the difference of these two forces if F1 is greater than F2, or it is F2 minus F1 if F2 is greater than F1. So this is the magnitude, and the direction of the resultant force will be along the higher magnitude force. Now apart from this, if the two forces are acting perpendicular to each other, then the net force will be given by under root F1 square plus F2 square, and the direction of the force, suppose it is making angle theta, so that tan theta will be given by F2 upon F1. So in this way we will get the direction as well as magnitude. Now this was the case when the two forces are acting. Suppose more than two forces are acting, in that case we have to resolve the forces. Now see that, suppose this is a point at which, suppose F1 is acting in this direction, F2 is acting at an angle alpha in this direction, and F3 is acting in this direction, and such that it makes an angle beta from the x-axis. Now suppose at this point we have to find the net force, so we consider it as the origin and this as the x-axis and this as the y-axis. Now our target is to resolve all the forces along x and y direction. Since F1 is already in the x-axis, so we have not resolved it. Now we have to resolve F2. When we resolve F2, it will be F2 cos of alpha and F2 sin of alpha. These are the resolved part. Similarly, F3, this is F3 cos of beta along the x-axis and F3 sin of beta along the y-axis. So here we can get the net force along the x-axis. These two are in the positive direction. So this is F1 plus F2 cos of alpha, and this is in the negative direction, so minus F3 cos of beta. Similarly, Fy will be the sum of these two because both are in the same direction. That is F2 sin alpha plus F3 sin alpha. Now here we get the two forces which are along the Fx and Fy. These are two perpendicular forces, and resultant of these two will be given by under root Fx whole square plus Fy whole square, and the direction will be given by Fy by Fx, and this theta is the angle made by the resultant from the Fx, right? So in this way we can calculate the resultant force, or any physical quantity which is vector, we have to use this method. Now we discuss about the electric field and electric field intensity. So what is electric field? The space around any charge in which another charge experiences the force of attraction or repulsion. That space is known as the electric field. Now electric field intensity or the strength of electric field is calculated. Suppose this is the electric field and this is a charge Q is placed over here, and at that point we have to find the electric field. So if we place unit positive charge at that point, then the force experienced by that unit positive charge inside the electric field is the strength of electric field at that point. So we define it like that: when a unit test charge is placed at that point, then the force experienced by the unit positive charge placed at that point is the electric field strength or the electric field intensity at that point. Okay. Now if suppose instead of charge 1 we place Q naught over here, so Q naught is placed over here, then the value of force experienced by it will be Q naught into E. That is the force experienced by it. Or E is equal to, you will write, that is F upon Q naught. Now here you can say if Q naught is equal to 1 plus 1, then E will be equal to F. So the electric field intensity is the force experienced by unit positive charge placed at that point. And from here we will get this formula. From this formula we can get F is equal to Q naught E. It means that any charge, suppose a charge Q naught is placed inside the electric field, then it will experience a force whose magnitude is given by Q naught E. If the charge is Q, then the force will be given by QE. And the very important thing is that, suppose this is the uniform electric field and this is a positive charge placed over here, then it will experience a force in the direction of electric field, QE. And suppose it's a negative charge minus Q, then it will experience the same magnitude but the direction will be opposite. Means if the positive charge is placed in the electric field, it will experience the force in the direction of electric field, and if the negative charge is placed, it will experience a force opposite to the direction of electric field. The magnitude of both will be Q into E. Now here we are going to calculate the electric field intensity due to a point charge. So you can see that electric field due to a point charge means, suppose Q is a charge which is placed at a point O, and there is another test charge which is placed at a distance R from Q naught. Then the force experienced by the Q naught due to the Q will be given by 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught Q naught upon R square. And if the medium is air or vacuum, now if the medium between Q and Q naught is having dielectric constant K, then the force will be given by 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught K Q1 Q naught upon R square. Now the electric field is given by F by Q naught. So when we substitute the value, we will get the relation E is equal to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught k q upon r square. So that electric field depends upon the magnitude of the charge as well as on the distance of that point from the charge. Now one more thing, if the charge is positive and at this point, this is suppose plus q charge is placed over here and this is the point P at a distance r. So at this point the direction of electric field is away from this charge, and the value is E is equal to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught q upon r square. Similarly, if it is a negative charge at this point which is at a distance r, then the electric field directed towards that charge, the magnitude will remain same, that is 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught q upon r. In the case of air or vacuum, or if the medium is of dielectric constant k, then here we put capital K also. Now the electric line of force. Now the question is that since the electric field is invisible, we cannot see that, so we have to represent that electric field on the paper. So how we'll represent that? It is represented by arrows. So the electric line of force are the imaginary smooth curve drawn in the electric field along which a free isolated positive charge move. Means if we place a positive charge inside the electric field and if that charge is free to move, it will move in a particular direction because the force will act on it. So the direction or the path which that particular charge follows, that gives the direction of electric field, and this path is also known as the electric line of force. So that is electric line of force. And the properties of electric line of force is that, now suppose this is the electric line of force. So at first of all that the electric line of force always originated from positive charge and ends at the negative charge. First thing, it originates from the positive charge and ends at the negative charge, like that. In this way they move. Now they always emerges perpendicular to the charge body. Suppose the charge body is like that, so the electric line of force will move like that. If the charge body is spherical, so this is the charge body, so electric line of force will be along the radius perpendicular to the surface, like that. So everywhere the electric line of force emerges perpendicular outward if the body is positively charged and inward if the body is negatively charged. Now second thing is that two electric line of force never intersect, because at the point of intersection there will be two direction of electric field. So this is not possible, so the electric line of force never intersect each other. And similarly one more thing, suppose this is the isolated positive charge. Sometimes the question is asked, draw the electric line of force of an isolated positive charge. So this is the direction of isolated positive charge, and similarly if it is the isolated negative charge, then the electric line of force will be inward arrows, like that. Now if the two charges are placed near each other, then the electric line of force is like that. Similarly, if the two similar charges are placed, both are positive, then the electric line of force are like that, the repel is there, like that. Similarly, this is outward arrows, and if these both are negative, then the arrows will be inward. So these are the diagram for the electric line of force. Now one more thing, how we will represent the uniform electric field. Uniform electric field means the magnitude of electric fields is same everywhere. So these are represented by equi-spaced parallel lines. This represents the uniform electric field, and this is not a uniform, so this is a non-uniform electric field. In this space, the electric field, the magnitude of the electric field is same everywhere. Now, electric dipole and electric dipole moment. Whenever the two equal and opposite charges are placed at a certain distance apart, then this arrangement is called electric dipole. Now the electric dipole moment is the product of magnitude of either of the charge into separation of these two charges. Generally we take the separation as a 2L only for the sake of symmetry. We can also take it as L. but we will take it 2L because whenever we measure the distance from the center, so in the case we'll get half of the length will be L, otherwise it will be L by 2. So to avoid the fraction only we'll take 2L. So this is known as a electric dipole moment, and it is a vector quantity. It is directed from negative charge to positive charge, and its unit is coulomb meter. Now we will calculate the electric field intensity due to a dipole. So in this case there are two conditions. One is the point is on the axis, second is the point is on the perpendicular bisector. So the first condition is that when the on axial point or this is also known as the end on position. Now in that case, suppose this is a negative charge and this is a positive charge, minus q plus q, and this is a dipole. This is the center of that. This is length is 2L. This is L. This is L. Now this is any point P at which we have to calculate the electric field. So you can see that electric field due to minus q is towards this, and electric field due to plus q at P is towards this. So the value of electric field E1 will be given by 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught q upon. Now if this distance is r, means we have taken the point P which is situated at a distance r from the center of the dipole. So the distance of P from minus q will be r plus L whole square. It is given over here. And electric field due to this, that is given by E2. And that is equal to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught q upon r minus L whole square. Since both the electric fields are in the opposite direction, so the net electric field at P will be given by, now here you can see the magnitude of E2 is greater. E2 is greater than E1 because the denominator is here r minus L and here is r plus L, so this value is more. So the net electric field will be E2 minus E1. So the direction of net electric field will be this, and the magnitude we will calculate by substituting these values, 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught q upon r plus L whole square and minus 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught q upon r minus L whole square. So when we calculate these things, so we will get q upon 4 pi epsilon naught common, and here we will get 4RL q divided by r square minus L square whole square. So it will become, finally it will become E is equal to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught, that is 2p r upon r square minus L square whole square. So this is the formula for that. Now here we will take a condition that if the value of r is very much greater than L, then L can be neglected in comparison to r. So this formula will become 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught 2p upon r cube, or in vector form it will be written as 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught 2p upon r cube. So here we can see that the direction of electric field and the direction of dipole, electric dipole is same, and the magnitude of the electric field is given by this. Now the second case is the electric field in equatorial line. Equatorial line means that suppose this is the dipole, minus q and plus q. So in that case this is known as the equatorial line or the perpendicular bisector. This is the center at, suppose this is a point P at which we have to calculate the electric field. This is the length L, this is the length L. So this is distance r. Now here we can say that this is the A and this is a B. In both the case AB is given as under root AB or BP, AP or BP, AP or BP, both are equal, and that will be r square plus L square. So here you can see that the electric field due to this in this direction, that is E1, and electric field due to the plus will be in this direction, because always we'll take electric field towards the minus charge and electric field due to the positive charge is always away from that. So these are the direction at E1 and E2. If we take it as a theta, this is again as a theta. Now we resolve these two electric force taking this as the origin. So if this angle is theta, this is also theta and this is also theta. So resolved part of E1 will be E1 cos theta and E1 sin theta. Similarly, this is resolved, that is E2 sin theta, and this is E2 cos theta. So these are the resolved part. Magnitude of E1 will be given by 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught Q upon AP square, that will be R square plus L square. And similarly E2 will be given by 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught Q upon R square plus L square, like that. So after that, when we calculate the electric field, resultant electric field, that will get the Ex and Ey. That Ex will be E1 cos of theta plus E2 cos of theta, and that makes, since the value of E1 and E2 are same, so it will be 2 E1 cos of theta. So when we'll put the value over here, that makes 2 into 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught Q upon R square plus L square, and the value of cos theta we can put from here, that will be base upon hypotenuse, that is L upon under root R square plus L square. So finally we'll get here the value that is given as 1 upon 4 pi epsilon as 2QL, it becomes P upon R square plus L square whole power 3 by 2. And similarly, if we take Ey, so Ey is a E1 sine of theta minus E2 sine of theta, that makes 0 because E1 and E2 are equal. So the net electric field will be given by under root Ex square plus Ey square, that is only Ex because Ey becomes 0. So the net electric field will be equal to the Ex, and the value of Ex is 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught P upon R square plus L square whole power 3 by 2, and that is the magnitude of the electric field. Now if we take a condition that R is very much greater than L, then the approximation will take place and we remove the L in the place in comparison to the R, so it will be P upon R cube. Now here if we take the vector equation, then when we place the vector, so E will be equal to minus 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught P upon R cube. Now you can see that the direction of P is from negative to positive and direction of net electric field is this, because these two cancelled, so these two added up, the net electric field will be along this direction, which is opposite to the P. So the negative sign will be here because E and P are in opposite direction. So this is the magnitude of electric field at the equatorial line, and the direction is opposite to the P. Now the next one is torque due to the dipole in a uniform electric field. Torque means whenever the two equal and opposite forces acting, then the torque act which tries to rotate that body. Now see, this is a uniform electric field, and in this uniform electric field, suppose a dipole is placed like that, this is a minus Q and this is a plus Q. The force will act along the direction of electric field at positive charge and in the direction of opposite field, in the direction opposite to the electric field of the negative charge. So the force on both the charges are equal magnitude, opposite in direction, parallel to each other, not acting on the same point. So they form a couple, and the magnitude of that torque will be given by force into perpendicular distance between them. So torque will be given by F into perpendicular distance. If we take suppose A and B and C, then this perpendicular distance is BC, which is equal to F into BC will be equal to, if this length is 2L and this is theta, so this will be 2L sine of theta, so that is 2L sine of theta. The value of force is QE. So QE into 2L sine of theta, so which makes 2Q into L, that E into 2QL into sine theta, and that makes PE sine theta, that is the magnitude of the torque acting on the dipole. This is the relation. So if we write it in the vector form, it will be P cross E. This is the vector form of the torque. Now one important thing which we will going to discuss about that. Now suppose the tendency of this torque is to rotate the dipole along the direction of electric field. So when here you can say that the direction of P is this or direction of E is this. Means in this case the angle theta is the angle between the dipole moment P and the electric field E. That is theta. And when theta is equal to 0, if theta is equal to 0, means the dipole become parallel to the electric field. So in that case, if we put the value of theta 0, then the torque will become 0, no torque will act in that case. So this is known as a stable equilibrium. Means stable means if in that position we displace slightly the dipole will come itself in its original position. That is a stable equilibrium. Now if we take theta is equal to 180 degree, that is the condition when the direction of electric field is this, and this is the minus charge and this is the plus charge. So P will act opposite to the E. So theta is 180 degree, and 180 is also sine 180 is also 0. The torque will 0. But in that case, the force on minus Q will act in this direction and plus Q will act in this direction. If we slightly displace this dipole, so because of this and this force, it will turn and becomes parallel to the electric field. Means in that case the torque will make P parallel to the E. This is known as the unstable equilibrium. So this is unstable and this is the stable equilibrium. That's all. Thank you. Have a nice day.